I still get nightmares. In fact, I get them so often I should be used to them by now. I'm not. No one ever really gets used to nightmares. I'm so tired. Sleep's been stalking me for too long to remember. Inevitable, I suppose. Sadly, though, I'm not looking forward to the prospect. I say sadly because there was a time when I actually enjoyed sleeping. In fact, I slept all the time. That was before my friend Lude woke me up at 3 a.m. and asked me to come over to his place. Who knows if I hadn't heard the phone ring? Would everything be different now? I think about that a lot. As I discovered, there were reams and reams of it, endless snarls of words, sometimes twisting into meaning, sometimes into nothing at all. I think now if someone had said be careful, we would have. I know a moment came when I felt certain its resolute blackness was capable of anything, maybe even of slashing out, tearing up the floor, murdering Zampano, murdering us, maybe even murdering you. And then the moment passed. Wonder in the way the unimaginable is sometimes suggested by the inanimate suddenly faded. The thing became only a thing, so I took it home. This much I'm certain of. It doesn't happen immediately. You'll finish and that will be that, until a moment will come, maybe in a month, maybe a year, maybe even several years. Out of the blue, beyond any cause you can trace, you'll suddenly realize things are not how you perceive them to be at all. For some reason, you will no longer be the person you believed you once were. You'll detect slow and subtle shifts going on all around you. More importantly, shifts in you. Worse, you'll realize it's always been shifting, like a shimmer of sorts. A vast shimmer, only dark like a room. But you won't understand why or how. You'll have forgotten what granted you this awareness in the first place. Old shelters, television, magazines, movies won't protect you anymore. You might try scribbling in a journal, on a napkin, maybe even in the margins of this book. That's when you'll discover you no longer trust the very walls you always took for granted. Even the hallways you've walked 100 times will feel longer, much longer, and the shadows, any shadow at all, will suddenly seem deeper, much, much deeper. You might try then, as I did, to find a sky so full of stars it will blind you again. Only no sky can blind you now. You'll care only about the darkness and you'll watch it for hours. It will get so bad you'll be afraid to look away. You'll be afraid to sleep. Then no matter where you are, in a crowded restaurant or on some desolate street or even in the comforts of your own home, you'll watch yourself dismantle every assurance you ever lived by. You'll stand aside as a great complexity intrudes, tearing apart, piece by piece, all of your carefully conceived denials, whether deliberate or unconscious. And then for better or worse, you'll turn, unable to resist, though try to resist you still will, fighting with everything you've got not to face the thing you most dread. What is now, what will be, what has always come before, the creature you truly are, the creature we all are, buried in the nameless black of a name. And then the nightmares will begin. After a couple of nights, Chad no longer has trouble sleeping. After a couple of days, Daisy's nipped finger heals. The heater is easily repaired. Even both parents enjoy a private moment where their hands can playfully unlock and interlock. Will finally putting his arm around Karen as she, letting out a heart-stirring sigh, rests her head on his shoulder. In fact, it is rare to behold such radiant optimism in anything these days, let alone in films. Each frame so replete with promise and hope. Navidson clearly cherishes these bucolic, near-idyllic impressions of a new world. Of course, nostalgia's role in shaping the final cut must not be forgotten, especially since within a year these pieces were all Navidson had left. Karen and the children, a mere blur racing down the staircase, the pointillisme of their pets' paw prints caught on the dew-covered lawn, or the house itself, an indefinite shimmer sitting quietly on the corner of Succoth and Ash Tree Lane, bathed in afternoon light. In early June of 1990, the Navidsons flew to Seattle for a wedding. When they returned, something in the house had changed. Though they had only been away for 4 days, the change was enormous. It was not, however, obvious, like, for instance, a fire, a robbery, or an act of vandalism. Quite the contrary, the horror was atypical. No one could deny there had been an intrusion, but it was so odd, no one knew how to respond. On video, we see Navidson acting almost amused, while Karen simply draws both hands to her face as if she were about to pray. Their children, Chad and Daisy, just run through it, playing, giggling, completely oblivious to the deeper implications. Upstairs in the master bedroom, we discover, along with Will and Karen, a plain white door with a glass knob. It does not, however, open into the children's room, but into a space resembling a walk-in closet. However, unlike other closets in the house, this one lacks outlets, sockets, switches, shelves, or rod on which to hang things, or even some decorative molding. Instead, the walls are perfectly smooth and almost pure black. Almost because there is a slightly gray quality to the surface. The space cannot be more than 5 feet wide and at most 4 feet long. On the opposite end, a second door, identical to the first one, opens up into the children's bedroom.
Mad woman on another tour. Everything she is, she spits on the floor. The old man tell me she's sicker than the rest. God, I've never been afraid like this. I don't wanna die, 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 don't wanna die.
My cherished Johnny, I dreamt about you last night. You had long hands which glistened in the starlight. There was no moon, yet your arms and your legs seemed made of water and changed with the tides. You were so beautiful and elegant and all blue and white, and your eyes, like your father's eyes, were infused with strange magic. It was comforting to see you so strong. Gods assembled around you and paid their respects and doted on you and offered you gifts your mother could not even begin to imagine, let alone afford. There were some gods who were jealous of you, but I shooed them away. The rest kept close to you and said many great things about your future. Unfortunately, the dream would not permit me to hear the exact words. I was only privy to an impression, but what an impression. Of course, dreams are tricky things, but since this one seemed so full of positive omens, I decided to share it with you here. May your summer be full of root beer, joy, and play, with terrible amounts of love. Mommy. I live at the end of some interminable corridor which the lucky damned can call hell, but which the much unluckier atheist must simply get used to calling home. There is no escape for me now. I know the new director knows I know this in turn. He knows I know he knows. These pages are my only flight. At least they escape. My years deepen, my secrets crack and crumble. My hands resemble some ancient tree, the roots that bind up the earth, the rock, and the ceaselessly nibbling wordums. But you are too young for trees to know anything of their lives. Oh, what a crippled existence 900 years must lead.
I live at the end of a 5.5-minute hallway, but as far as I can see, you are still